What is up, guys, and welcome to today's video. If you don't know me, my name is Ayman. I run the page The Frag Stop on YouTube and TikTok, where we talk about all things fragrance related. Today's video is going to be about my 10 fragrances for life. These are going to be fragrances that I have to have in my collection at all times. For whatever reasons, these are fragrances that are perfect to me, that I would change nothing about, and I need to have them. So I have all the fragrances set up here in front of me, and I'm going to talk about each one in no particular order. To me, these are all on the same level of great. They're all 10 out of 10s. So with that, let's get started with the first fragrance, which is going to be Parfums de Marly's Herod. This was one of my first ever niche fragrances, and to this day is still one of my favorites. This is what I imagined Tom Ford's Tobacco Vanille to smell like. You could imagine my surprise when I found out that Tobacco Vanille smells nothing like this fragrance and is a lot more polarizing, whereas this one is a lot more easygoing and not as hard to pull off. Now, this fragrance opens up with a very fruity, cherry-like opening that doesn't really last long. It's weird, it's not even listed in the notes, but I pick up something fruity, something almost cherry-like. But as soon as it disappears in the first couple minutes of wearing this fragrance, that beautiful incensey tobacco starts to come out, and mixed in with the vanilla of this fragrance, it smells absolutely amazing. If there's anything Parfums de Marly is known for, it's their very addicting vanilla. The same one in Leighton, in Carlisle, and the new Althea. I don't know what it is about their vanilla, but it is very addicting, and combined with the incensey smoky tobacco of Herod, it smells really, really good, really intoxicating, really addicting. I would say that this is a little bit more on the dressier side. It's a very elegant fragrance. I definitely would wear this when I'm a little bit more dressed up and not to a more casual setting, or when I'm dressed in a more casual way. Now, the weird thing about this fragrance is that I'm not a big fan of tobacco. I've tried many tobacco fragrances over my fragrance journey, like Tobaccoleur, Guerlain's Tobacco Honey, Xerjoff Naxos. Nothing has really resonated with me the same way that this has. I don't know what it is about this one. It's blended so well, so smooth, and it's not really a very cloying or very annoying tobacco, which I really appreciate and really love. Now, I know someone in the comments is going to ask me if my bottle is an older batch, the batches that are stronger, darker, and last longer. Unfortunately, it is not. I have a newer batch. The performance is iffy. It's not the best, but I'm perfectly happy with that because of how much I love the smell of this fragrance. So if performance is something you really care about, then maybe look at something else. I did try another fragrance that supposedly smells identical to Herod. It's Essential Parfums Divine Vanille, which I liked, but it loses that masculine edge that this fragrance has. It's more focused on that vanilla and less on the tobacco, whereas this one has an equal mix of tobacco and vanilla. So yeah, Parfums de Marly's Herod, definitely on my list for fragrances I'm going to own for life. Next on the list of fragrances I have to keep for life is a 2-for-1 Dior Homme Intense and Dior Homme Parfum. Now, it's really, really difficult to choose between these two fragrances, but I guess now that this one's discontinued, I'm gonna have to keep Intense for the rest of my life. But I really enjoy both of these fragrances. I love each one of them just as much as the other, really. But I will say I do wear the Intense more often, and it's only because I think this one is a lot more versatile than this one. Now, if you don't know what these fragrances smell like, they're both iris-based fragrances. They both have that same beautiful signature Dior iris that's so buttery smooth. This one has more of a sweeter side. It's a little bit more chocolatey, a little bit more musky. They both have that lipsticky smell to them. I find that this one is more versatile because of the sweetness. I tend to wear this stuff all year round, whereas with the Dior Homme Parfum, the old version at least, I find that it is a very heavy fragrance. It has oud and leather, which are very heavy notes that you tend to wear during winter and could get a little bit suffocating in summer. So I tend to save this one for the winter time and for formal occasions, whereas I wear this stuff all year round. Next on the list is actually the most recent fragrance and the one that I owned for the least amount of time, but surprisingly, it's made the top of the list, and it's Maison Crivelli's Oud Maracuja. If you've watched any fragrance content in the last year, you know how much hype there is surrounding this fragrance, and it is honestly well deserved because this thing is a masterpiece. This fragrance is nothing groundbreaking. We've seen the combinations of oud and fruits before, but this stuff just does it so, so well. And if you don't know what this stuff smells like, it basically smells like a combination of passion fruit with some oud and leather. I will say it is more passion fruit than it is oud and leather. And the oud in this fragrance is not animalic at all, which I think makes it a lot more mass appealing and one of the more beginner-friendly oud fragrances. And I can't talk about this fragrance without mentioning the monstrous projection and beast mode longevity. It's actually insane how long this stuff lasts and projects. It will easily last you up to 24 hours. All of the Maison Crivelli extracts, whether it's this one or Hibiscus Mahajad or Oud Stallion, they all last a ridiculous amount of time and project for hours. But yeah, one of my favorite oud fragrances that will forever be in my collection. The next fragrance I want to talk about is Tom Ford's Noir de Noir. Now, I tried most of the popular Tom Ford private collection fragrances like Tobacco Vanille, Tuscan Leather, and Oud Wood, but none of them resonated with me and none of them did I enjoy as much as this one right here. When I first sprayed this, I didn't know what the hell was going on. There was so many notes, so many things I was picking up on, and I didn't know what to think of it. I just knew that I liked it. And when I searched up the notes, I was surprised because the list of notes was just crazy to me. This stuff has notes of wine, chocolate, truffle, oud, rose, and patchouli. I didn't expect it, and the combination is just so weird, but it works so, so well. However, don't get me wrong, this is not a fragrance you can wear daily. I like to reserve this stuff for more intimate occasion like dates or nights out with special people, because this is honestly such a romantic fragrance. It's very intimate, it's very addicting, and it just makes you want to like eat up someone. One of my favorite fragrances of all time, I think. Just amazing. So yeah, definitely a fragrance I want to keep for life and hopefully create a lot more memories with. Next fragrance, we're going to take a break from the dark wintry fragrance and talk about a fresher fragrance. This is Louis Vuitton's Imagination. Easily the most versatile fragrance in my collection. I wear this stuff everywhere, to school, to work, to the office, to the doctors, to the gym, whenever, wherever I'm wearing this fragrance. I always say every time I wear this fragrance, I don't feel like I'm wearing a cologne. I feel like I am cleansing myself because this stuff just smells so clean. It smells so beautifully, wonderfully clean. It's hard to even describe. Of course, I'm gonna try with the notes. This stuff has notes of citrus, neroli, and tea, which create a very beautiful, clean, fresh smell, scent bubble of sorts. It doesn't smell like laundry, which most of these fresh neroli fragrances smell like to me. This one is a little bit better, has more depth to it, and it lasts a really long time for a fresh fragrance, which really surprised me. My batch, which I got almost 2 years ago, lasts a good 8 hours easily and projects really, really well. But yeah, just a dumb reach fragrance I could wear whenever, wherever, without offending anyone, whenever I just want to smell clean, which I think is more important than smelling good. And because of that, it's a fragrance I'm always going to have in my collection. Staying within the theme of fresh fragrances, the next fragrance I want to talk about is Sospiro's Vibrato. I bought this fragrance as a graduation gift to myself, and ever since then, it's remained as one of my favorite summer fragrances of all time. It is a very, very uplifting and bright fragrance. It opens up with a huge blast of citrus and ginger, which usually is going to be a very screechy combination, but not with this one. This one does it so right. The citruses are very juicy and not screechy at all. As it dries down, you get a little bit of the powdery notes coming through, but my favorite part of this fragrance is when it completely dries down and the citruses mix with the amber in this fragrance, and they create a beautiful candied orange citrus-like smell that smells absolutely delicious and is perfect for a hot summer day. This is one of those fragrances that I have to mention the performance of because this stuff is no joke, lasts easily a whole day, especially on your clothes, and projects for hours. I'm not kidding, this stuff's projection is no joke. You're gonna be catching whiffs of this thing every time you move, every time you turn, every time you walk. But like I said, it's not cloying and it's not screechy, so you're definitely gonna enjoy it. The next fragrance that I know I'm gonna keep for the rest of my life is Frederic Malle's Portrait of a Lady. This fragrance is weird because the opening is very, very off-putting. To this day, I don't enjoy the opening of this fragrance. And I remember the first time I ever tried it, I thought this stuff smelled nasty. I thought it smelled dirty, but as the day went on and this thing dried down, I kept catching whiffs of this beautiful, addicting rose. And I found out that it was from this fragrance. And then I went back to the store and tried it out one more time and see if it dried down the same or if it was because I combined two different fragrances. But luckily it wasn't, and it was all because of the dry down of this fragrance, which is amazing. You get a beautiful rose fragrance that's not too feminine, not too masculine, perfectly unisex, and it's very, very addicting. It creates a scent trail that's absolutely insane. I remember I sprayed this stuff one time, and this was one of the only times in my life where someone chased me down and asked me, "What are you wearing?" And I told him it was this fragrance. And again, I warned him that the opening of this fragrance is very, very challenging. I don't like it. I still don't like it, but the dry down is amazing. And for that reason, I'm always gonna have a bottle of this stuff because it truly got me to appreciate perfumery and fragrances, especially at the very niche level. And it's magic. It's magic how this thing can go from a very off-putting scent to a very addicting fragrance. And because of that, I think I'm always gonna have a bottle of this fragrance to remind me of how beautiful the fragrance hobby is and how much a fragrance can change. So yeah, if you're looking for the perfect rose fragrance, I do recommend you try this one out. Do not blind buy it, but try it out and let it dry down. Next on my list of fragrances for life is Matiere Premier's Falcon Leather. This is going to be the most polarizing fragrance on this list. It is a beautiful combination of saffron, incense, and just raw masculine leather. This stuff just smells like a man because it is not your smooth, silky leather. It is more of like a raw leather. And I think the naming of this fragrance is perfect because this is exactly what I imagine a falconer's glove to smell like. So Falcon Leather, very good name. Again, one of those fragrances that is going to last absolutely forever. It's going to project forever. It is a very, very strong fragrance. I've had this for a year and a half now and I've barely used it. And that's not because I don't like wearing it. It's because it is super, super strong. So whenever I do wear it, I only go with 1 to 2 sprays. Definitely a fragrance I recommend you try before you buy. Definitely not a blind buy safe fragrance. But to me, this stuff is perfect and a fragrance I hope to own for the rest of my life. I know in the beginning of this video, I said that I'd put all these fragrances on the same level, but there is one fragrance that stands a little bit above all the rest. It just stands out more to me and is, I think, my favorite fragrance of all time, and it is Clive Christian's Blonde Amber. I talk about this fragrance every chance I get, and it is because I absolutely adore it. Like I said, I think my favorite fragrance of all time. It has way too many notes that I'm not going to list out, but I'll put the notes somewhere on the screen. But basically, this opens up with a beautiful combination of fruits and spices. The spices don't last very long and disappear, and you're left with a beautiful mixture of fruity and boozy notes coming from the rum in this fragrance. But as the rum and the fruits tend to settle, you're left with an absolutely amazing amber and vanilla that is a little bit reminiscent to the amber and vanilla in Grand Soir. I prefer the amber and vanilla of this one much, much more than the one in Grand Soir. It's a lot more smooth, a lot more addicting, and it smells so, so good. Like I said, love it. Favorite fragrance of all time. Definitely gonna stay in my collection for the rest of my life. And finally, the fragrance that must remain in my collection at all times is Armani's Stronger With You Intensely. And honestly, it's not because of the way this fragrance smells. This isn't even my favorite flanker anymore. That honor goes to Armani Stronger With You, absolutely. But it's more because of the memories I have with this fragrance. This was the first ever fragrance I ever bought for myself and was the fragrance that got me into this hobby. So it holds a very, very special spot in my heart. And for that reason, has to always be in my collection. If you don't know what this stuff smells like, it basically is a beautiful combination of toffee, caramel, and vanilla. And I've heard someone say that this stuff smells like Christmas in a bottle, and honestly, I think that's the perfect way to sum up this fragrance. Really, really good. I think every man should own a bottle of this stuff, or at some point in their life should own a bottle of this stuff because it is very, very good for what it is. And that's just a really good designer fragrance. And yeah, that was it, guys. 10 fragrances for life. I don't want to take up any more of your time. I know this was a lot of yap, but I really wanted to share why I loved every single one of these fragrances and why they're going to be fragrances I'm going to keep for life. But anyways, I hope you enjoyed, and if you did, please leave a like, comment, subscribe if you can, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.